Alright guys, just a quick update on the building. Today's March 30th, it's 2016 and it's around 5:30 p.m. Now I don't have a lot of free time to get out here and work on this, so whenever I do get out here I got to make my time count with it. But so far I've got the ceiling completely insulated, and you can see I've got just a little bit left to close it off, and then I'll be able to go ahead and get my light fixtures up here along with the wire and everything. And originally, guys, what I was going to do, I was going to take this wood here and I was going to run it up to the peak and do that both sides like that. I decided to do it a little bit different, so what I went and done is I went and got some 2x2s, and you can see how I tied in with them. Basically, I made some ribs up here so I can hang my plywood up here. And it's got a couple advantages to it. Mainly, it leaves me plenty of room up there to work with, so when I go to run the wiring that I don't, have a difficult time trying to hide the wiring. And if I'd have run the wood up to the peaks up there, it would have been a little bit difficult to have concealed the wiring, so that was another reason behind it. Plus, maybe with that little bit of a gap up there, I'll probably get a little bit more insulating properties in here. And I can tell you right now that insulation definitely makes a difference, because before I put this up in here, I would come in here, even on a cool day, when the sun was hitting the building, it would be stifling in here. And I wish I had the footage on my phone that I could show you here, and maybe I'll do this as I'm finishing up the building. But I came out here with a digital thermometer, with a laser thermometer, and I hit the wall right about here, and it was like, I don't know, 100 degrees. It was somewhere around there, give or take about a half degree. I went up here and hit it up here, and it was a 17 degrees difference. So yeah, insulation definitely makes a big difference. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off, because I want to go ahead and get this closed off up here. I just wanted to share this with you, and I'll be continuing to add to the footage as I get this thing put together. Okay, here's the second update on the progress of the building. Guys, the ceiling is completely finished. That's all of the insulation in place, the wood panels, along with the electrical wiring for the light fixtures. Let me zoom in on that. It's going to be a total of 3 light fixtures. 1, 2, and 3. I feel that'll really light it up good and bright in here, and that's not going to be including the close-up light fixtures that are over the workbenches either. I'm going to tell you right now, this was a pretty difficult job, and the best way that I can explain it would be to say a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. Mainly because I was working with everything over my head, putting this stuff up by myself. Originally, I was going to take full sheets of plywood to split them down the middle and make 8-foot sections, 4 foot tall, and just put them up here. And I realized, hey, can't do that. It was too flimsy and too hard to work with when I was doing it by myself. Not only that, the building, although when you look at it, you don't see anything, but when you start getting down to measurements, you start realizing that it's not truly square, which meant it was off a little bit. And if I run the large pieces of wood, it was going to cause issues, which it did, even putting this stuff up. But nothing that can't be worked around. And besides that, it's not a house, it's a workshop, so I can live with the imperfections. So what I did was, and it's a little bit more work, but it paid off. I took the plywood and I split it into 2 foot by 4 foot sections and put it up like panels for both sides up here. And that worked really good. And then I want to say I did 4 foot by 40 inch sections up here, something like that for the top piece up here. But I can tell you right now, it's absolutely going to pay off when it comes to keeping cold air or hot air in or out, either way you want to look at it. Not only that, I did manage to get a lot of stuff done here today, and I'm still continuing on this. Yep, there's my boxes for my electrical. I've got all that stuff mounted into place. You can see they go all the way around the building here, literally, okay? And I wanted it done like that because I want to have a receptacle within arm's reach no matter which direction I turn to this building. So I'm going to start over here. This is going to be the switch for the lights. I've got a breaker box here so I can run a wire outside if I need to, or plug in and do something right here where I'm standing. I've got 3 fixture boxes here. This is for my electronics bench. This will be on its own separate breaker. 3 more running the length of the wall on this side here. Those will be on their own breaker. These are going to be used right here. These are going to be on their own breaker, and they're going to be used for the bench that's going to run drill presses and what I would call heavy machinery tools like skill saws and whatnot. Of course, I've got another box over here because I wanted another receptacle, so I have an option of running more than one wire right out by the door. So if I want to go to the left and not cross the wire over where I'm going to be stepping out, I can do it to go around that side of the building to the left. And I've got another fixture box here. This one is going to be for the outside light. So the job is moving along, and the good thing about it is, because I've got all this ruckus on the ceiling done and all this aggravation's out of the way, it's going to open up the door for me to pretty quickly wire it up and insulate this and get the walls up in here. So it's been a job, and it's still an ongoing job. All right, we'll sign back off, and I think I'll bring you back in once I get the wiring and the insulation put into place. So there you go. Okay, we've got the insulation up. It wasn't a bad job. It was just one of those kind of jobs that had some annoyances to it, but it's done. And I can already tell a big difference that it's up. Because normally about this time of the day, the sun will be hitting right about over here somewhere, and basically this whole wall, once you get about a foot away from it, you feel the infrared heat. But that's all blocked now because this is doing its job. So, like I said, this will definitely pay off, especially when I put a little window unit in here, or if I'm trying to keep heat in during the winter time. So, I don't like working with insulation, but there it is. And the other thing that was aggravating with this, because these walls are non-standard, I had to cut all the stuff and put it in here sideways. The fun part, I got to use a pair of these, a regular pair of scissors to cut it with. And I'm telling you right now, I got little blisters between my fingers, but it's behind me and I'm ready to put up walls. So now I'm going to go ahead and pause back out. I'll bring you guys back in after I get the walls up. Okay guys, we're back for a building update. And as you can see here, I've got a scrap wood pile sitting down here on the ground. But this is just the remnants of what was left over when I did the construction inside the building, which we'll cover in just a minute. I did wind up with a leftover roll of insulation, but that's all right because I'm just going to use this on the extension when I put it up, which I hope is going to be very soon. There's some of my tools, and I still have a lot of lumber left over, 2x4s, 2x6s, and some scrap pieces of plywood, but that's okay because all this will be applied somewhere, and the 2x4s and 2x6s will mainly be used to build up the workbenches in here. Let's take a look inside. All right, I'll scroll around slowly so you can see what I've got going on here. This way you can get a good look at everything. Now you're probably wondering, what are all these white lines running around the seams of the building? And what I did is I got in here, I caulked the daylights out of everything in here. I wanted to make sure this building held heat or held cool, whichever one was running in it. So that was my reasoning behind that. Now keep in mind, I didn't use sheetrock in here. I used a 1/4 inch thick press board. And the stuff is pretty flimsy, which brings me to another point here. I'm going to cover this stuff here that you see going around the walls here and tell you why I did this. But the stuff is pretty flimsy, and then you couple that along the fact that the studs in this building were all non-standard because it wasn't, like a house or something. They basically just used a minimal amount of materials, which I went back and I actually added some studs to it also. I had to be able to tie my corners in. But because this stuff is flimsy and I had wide space in between the studs in here, these walls had soft spots where you could just mash your hand on them. So what I've done is I added this stuff in the center here, and what it did, it gave it massive tensile strength. But this is also where the boards join together also. In other words, this is a sheet of plywood here and then another piece up here. And I used full sheets of 4x8s in the bottom of it all the way around wherever I could. And then I had to cut off the short pieces up here to fit in the top. And this worked out really good. It gave me 2 pluses. First most, I got to cover up the seam where the wood went together, which I did a good cutting job on it, and it did look nice and tight and professional. But being able to do this and cover this up, this actually gave the wall strength, and it covered up that seam, and it was worth the extra hassle, guys, so that's what I've done right there. As far as the floor goes, I'm going to wind up adding another layer of wood on this, and then I will wind up painting it with gray paint that you would use in a garage floor. Now, my next quest here is to go ahead and paint inside the building in here. So I've got some semi-gloss white, and I'm going to go ahead and, when I put the camera down, go ahead and paint the building up, and I'll bring you guys back in and we'll take a look at it, and I guarantee you it will be transformed. But like I said, it's just something that's got to be done. Also, guys, I will go around on the floor just like I did these walls once I add the new floor in here and paint it, or that is before I paint it. I'll get in here and I'll caulk on here too. So I want to make sure this thing, like I said, that it's very efficient when it comes to holding heat or cold inside of it. I caulked around everything. You got to keep in mind, this building wasn't but a couple $1,000s, and you know, they weren't about to do anything in it as far as insulation or anything. And as a matter of fact, the windows, I mean, you know, I could have left the windows closed and got a breeze through here because there was air gaps everywhere, but I took care of that. All that's been caulked, and I can already tell the difference when I come in here. Like at night, it's been dropping down to about 40 to 45 degrees, and it takes it a couple of good hours, but I mean, you know, eventually the temperature drops in here, and then I can come out here, like right now, it's about 3:30, and it's still cool in here, okay? So before this stuff was up here, you would come in here, if it was hot outside, it was hotter in here. If it was cold outside, it was much colder in here. So insulation does its job. When the sun hits it, like right now, it's comfortable. But, you know, coming around 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, you will feel the radiant heat in here as long as the door stays closed. And it'll stay warm, I don't know, for about 3 or 4 or 5 hours after the sun goes down. And it'll take quite a few hours before it cools back down in here. So the insulation, all the sealing definitely paid off in here. So on that note, we're going to pause out and we're going to start painting. All right, here's a quick paint update. I went ahead and went around all the light switches and wall sockets and prepped everything up. You can see that I painted around them. And yes, I did use Scotch tape over everything to protect it just in case I had to slip up with a brush or something. Now after I finished this, I went and grabbed a bite to eat, and that's when I got a wild hair and decided to try something. So let me zoom in on that something that I decided to try. I've never used one, and I'm going to tell you right now, that's one of the best investments that I put money to in a long time when it comes to a power tool. Yes, that is a paint sprayer. I was able to paint the whole top half of this building, 30, 40 minutes. That's 1 gallon of paint I spread out on there. And I'm going to tell you right now, that was an investment that I do not regret. There's some pros and cons to it. The pros are it's extremely fast, and as soon as that paint hits the wall, it's immediately dry. The cons are this thing will wear your hands out holding them up over your head. It does have a little bit of weight to it, you know, after you hold it for like 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, another con is you got to have a steady hand using it. So it's something you got to get used to, or you wind up with bare spots. You see I've got some up here. But even with that, that's nothing. That's easily, you know, fixable right there. Okay, if you notice the top half of the roof up here is much more wider or more uniform looking. That's because I painted that with a brush by hand. That was a tight area, and I originally was going to do this with a roller. So I got up here, like I prepped the wall sockets, I prepped up around up here too. And you know, the first coat I put up there, boy, it sucked it up. A big straw came from the sky and went, it sucked up all the paint. So there's actually a couple coats up there. Same with the wall sockets. But I got an idea. I figured I'm going to go ahead and use the sprayer to put the first layer of paint in here, okay? But I'm going to go back with a roller, and I'm going to go ahead and lay a heavy coat of paint on it. And I got a feeling this first coat up here will keep it from being sucked in the walls and wasted inside the wood. Now I didn't prime these walls, and had this been sheetrock in a house, you can take it to the bank. Yeah, I would have taken every step that you're supposed to take. I would have gotten here and primed it and done the whole 9 yards, but this is a workshop. So therefore I didn't bother putting primer up here. But with that said, that is one of the best investments that I put money to in a long time. On that note, we're going to pause out. I'll bring you guys back in once the job is finished. Okay, the interior painting is finished, and I'm here to tell you right now that the electric paint sprayer was definitely a sound investment. It sped this job up so much that it's just not even funny. I did use the paint roller in conjunction with it. I used it on the ceiling. And speaking of the ceiling, let me show you something here. And so there was light. That's right, I have given the building a heartbeat. It now has some power in it. The whole building is wired, and all of the wiring is pulled to the outside awaiting the fuse panel, but that won't go up until I get the extension to the building added on. And trust me, that's going to be really soon. I'm about to wrap this part of the job up, and I've got a couple of weak links that I need to take care of, and I'll discuss that right now. One of them is this floor. From the past videos, you guys know that I've done a lot of work in here getting this insulated. So I had to go through living hell to put the insulation up in here because everything was non-standard. I had to get in here with a pair of scissors and chop the little pieces up to fit them in the walls. Now the floor, I was going to crawl under here and put the insulation up underneath, but I realized, hey, it's going to be too tight for me to be trying to crawl under my back under this building. So I'm going at this a different way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 8x10 sheets of insulation, the styrofoam insulation, and I'm going to show you what I've got right here. You see it on top, and then you see the wood underneath that. Okay, I'm going to put the insulation on the floor first, and then I'm going to sandwich it between another layer of wood on top. The reason being, I wanted to build this floor up and make it a little bit tougher. I don't have any weak places. They did do a good job on the foundation. I will give them that much. But I figure if I'm going to go ahead and lay the insulation down inside here, I'll put another floor on top of that, and this should make this a very energy efficient building. The next snafu that I got to take care of is this door right here. If it was just a storage building, this wouldn't be any big deal, but it's not. And the way they made this thing here was they just hammered a couple of 2x4s together and put a big piece of blah on it. And they just put this stuff right here, this press board on it, and that's the wall. So you know that's not going to hold any kind of heat in or cold in or out. It's either way you want to look at it. That's got to go. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to build me a nice 2x4 door that will, when it closes, it'll be flush with this. So it'll basically be a continuation of the walls. Plus I'll be able to insulate it, and there's another big plus with it also. If some clown or fool comes along thinking they're going to break into the building, they're going to be trying to break into a Bradley tank. That's all I can tell you, because I'm going to beat the crap out of this door to make sure that this building is safe and secure, along with adding an alarm system in it, but that's another story there. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video out, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this floor up. I'll get it all laid down and painted and all that good stuff, and that'll be my final video as far as, you know, what I'm going to do on this particular YouTube video. I'll go ahead and upload this so you guys can see where I'm at. The next videos you'll see will probably be me coming in here and completing the workbenches, because I'm going to get the building up and running, and then once I get the stuff in here put together, my workstation set up, I'll go ahead and do the extension on the building. So I just wanted to share this with you right here, and I couldn't be happier with it. The job is definitely moving right along like it's supposed to. So I'm going to pause out, and I'll bring you guys back in, and we'll get to look at the floor when it's laid down. That's definitely going to make this into a nice work area once that's laid down. Catch you on the next video clip. Hey, just a quick update so you can see what I'm actually doing here to the floor. Now I've laid this insulation down, and I'm putting the new flooring on top of it. I got a feeling it's also going to quiet it down in here quite a bit also. So there it is, and I'll pause back out. I'll bring you guys back in not only when the floor is laid down, but once it's painted. Catch you on the next video. All right, it's official. The floor has been finished, complete with 2 brand new shiny coats of gray paint. The only thing left to do now is for me to do the upgrade on this door, and I'll take on that job in the next couple of days. Now the next YouTube video that I upload is going to be after I go ahead and build up all the workbenches and I get all the tools and test equipment set into place. This way you'll be able to see what I'm actually using this building for. Now once I get it into a functional shop, I'm going to jump on the extension of this building and knock it out as quickly as possible, because I'm chomping at the bit to get the solar and the wood gas and everything set up in here so that I can get this building off grid and self-sufficient. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear your feedback. Flash 001 USA, we're signing off. You guys have a good one.